Hello there. I'm doing a patch review for support players. Um, Pretty much going over the entire the entire patch. Very briefly, this character is basically Rama with old Hui jump as an ult. He looks interesting, kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. Looks like a mage, plays like a hunter. Fine, very standard stuff. All right, so with the conquest changes, so we have a few changes. So obviously, with the mage passive going in 11.1. They found that mages aren't killing red buff fast enough, so they're making red buff easier to kill for mages. Dudes, whatever. Not a big change, doesn't affect supports at all, but it's very mean, in my opinion. Mid harpy change. This is actually good for supports. This 50 health decrease is 3 autos in the mid game, 2 autos in the mid game for each camp. It's good for us. Good for mages too. It means the farm's going to be a little bit easier around mid. If you are coming mid, you're going to find a bit more farm around there, probably. Secondly is the Sigil Beacon increase on the second and third respawn. Now, this makes snowballing a hell of a lot easier because this affects, obviously, towers and phoenixes. Let's say you capture 3 beacons in a row. You know, you're getting an extra 150 damage here per structure. So, that doesn't seem like a lot, but I kind of feel like until you're hitting for late, until you hit like super late game, people hit autoing the Phoenix for what, like 80, maybe Hunter autoing it for 80. So 4 or 5 autos here being per thing. I mean, it can help a lot. It definitely snowballs. The only problem with this as well, the only thing I was going to say is they have fixed the beacon bug this patch. So the beacon now rewards the team. When I capture beacon, if I destroy a tower with beacon, I get the gold. So this means you can just spam beacon, and it's actually good again. So I will put a bit more focus on beacons now because this is definitely snowball in the mid game, not in the early game, because obviously it only starts in the second capture, not the first. Secondly, we've got the effigy. This doesn't matter if you were already tanking correctly on Fire Giant. This just means that people that are aiming for the effigy for no reason will kill it a little bit faster. Not a problem for support. Just keep tanking the same doing it. Lifesteal buff doesn't affect supports at all. However, this does affect hunters a lot. They probably will heal at least something now. It was bugged and they were basically healing nothing. Good that they've changed that. Jewel, who cares? Sunring Axe, a good change. I mean, they did this to override the mage meta for SPL. This, I don't think it's going to go back to it, but it's a good change. Timeline decrease, good. Mages were abusing it. Horrific. This is a good change. My assumption is that it won't be enough to kill Horrific, but you know what? I'm going to be experimenting over the next couple of weeks with relics, and from here it might change because the 10 seconds extra, while it doesn't seem like a lot, it's getting to the point where this only comes up once every buff spawn, and if you wasted it in between, then you can't evade buffs and you can't snowball. And horrific late game applying it without blink is hard. So the super fast, obviously, what I've said there for no reason. It's a good change. I don't know if it'll be enough. I don't think it will be, but we'll see. This shittest change Harris has made all year. If you're getting caught out by this, any Reddit users, then that's your fault for being bad at the game. This is, I thought it was a nice strategy that people didn't use enough, and it's a game they've nerfed. Good change. Yep. Fine change. I think it buffs mages a little bit. I don't really like this for the tablet build, but I mean, they buffed the right one. They didn't buff the OP one. They buffed the one that wasn't built. So that's a fine change. Death Temper making it more consistent. I think that makes a lot of sense. This item got 0 value. I am going to try this on Anubis and Hades support with Rejuvenating Heart and Typhon's combo. It's probably going to be Troll, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. This one, interesting change. You might see this built on Bruiser supports if you're building a damage item second, like a Warlock or something. Going this might be an interesting change, but I'm not too sure. Pioneer's Cuirass. I haven't tried it, but I will start trying it. Amongst like Guardians like Kepri and Geb that want to stay in dual lane and fight, maybe even Afro, could definitely have a bit of value. This is good for warriors, but I'm not sure if I want to build this. The only thing. It's a massive gold decrease, but this item doesn't stat very well. It's not the best stat stick in the game, and it scales poorly. So it needs to be really cheap, and it needs to be really broken early game to abuse it. You'll probably see me building it once or twice on a few warriors, like Achilles or Herc or Horus, but I'm unsure. I think this is more of a solo lane change than a support change. Time's been changed for poke gods. It's going to buff a god like AMC a lot with waves. We got onto god balance here. Aphrodite nerf. Sorry, Aphrodite. Athena, this change makes a lot of sense. I think she's already going to fall off a lot now. Her ult is really busted in rank because of the obvious random global rotation. This is a massive nerf early game. I mean, my word. I think you're going to see Athena fall off a cliff, in my opinion. That is crazy. The movement speed reduction from 20% down to 10% is absolutely insane. Damage mitigation, not so much, just because mitigation early doesn't really mean much. But the movement speed early game making plays on junglers is just awkward. That's going to be a big change. Good changes, good nerfs on Maman. She was definitely doing well in a lot of top rank games. Good Toth nerfs as well. He was dominating. I want to see us taken down a bit more to 110 probably, but that's their play. Back is probably dead in support now. Not dead, but a god like this character who dies like this needs to be really good early game. This change is massive. Rather than before being 60 prots when you max his item at level 8, level 8, level 9, level 8. Now you max out at 40. So 60 down to 40, and it stacks. It's it's a big change in my opinion. I think it's a really big nerf early game, especially. Look at this. I don't know. It's just a bit weaker early. Before it used to be 6x2 level 1. Now it's 8x1. Like that is a rough early game. Like compared to before, that's a big change, especially when you're fighting junglers and stuff, and they're just going to hit you really early on before you even get it stacked. Like I think he's going to be a solo laner now where you can stack that permanently, not in support anymore, in my opinion. Yeah, it's all got changed. Well, this is all good to changes. I think this is over nerfed, maybe. But you know what? He was a top pick. So let it live for now. Cuckoo nerf, thank God. I've been banning this god for absolutely ages. His late game was obnoxious. I'm glad they've taken it down a little bit. Hachiman was definitely the best hunter in the game. This is a good one. You can actually dive Hachi now with this. Heavenly Banner just produces laning phase. Doesn't really affect support too much. On her, he's still really broken. He'll be fine. You can still play him support. It's a 5% chance. The fact that it lasts for 7 seconds is what makes it broken, not the slow. As long as it's above like 5, really good. So I would recommend Honor. Still really good. Hachi definitely got nerfed more than Honor did. Charon, don't worry about this. Not a big change at all. Got nerfed by 20% of the full value. 2.5% of someone's health late game. Let's say you've got 3,500 health. 350 divided by 4, 5. It's like 87.5. Am I trolling off that? Is it 87.5? Trolling now, maybe. It's not a big nerf. It really isn't a big nerf. Yeah, it's like 17. Is it 17 health nerf on the shield or something? I don't even know. I'll figure out the maths afterwards. I'll edit in. This is just a useless. The thing that's broken about Charon too, and this is why I don't even know the numbers on it. The initial shield's great, but the thing that's broken about Charon is that you can reapply it indefinitely for the entire duration of the 2. So the reapplication doesn't really matter, and that's in my opinion what makes it busted. So it's definitely a nerf, but I don't think it's a big one. The Mana absolutely gutted late game. Thank God he was demolishing. 30 power reduction late game is all the item changes not good for him either. He didn't build. He built Sun Reacts, that got nerfed. The late game he's going to have way less power than before. Awesome to see. Hades, goddamn, this might be absolutely insane in support. That is insane late game. You pair that, you get a little protection shred build with Void Damara and Void Shield. Definitely going to be playing him. Really good change. I mean, Hades is really broken in solo, but not against support, so I like it. Ebo, they just love this character. He hasn't been good for a while, to be fair, and they did nerf Bow. They did remove Bow and they nerfed Hornshard, so fair dues. I think it's time for him to have a bit of a limelight again. Who you buff, very good, but whatever. Fine. These two changes are pretty big. This one is good for this 10% early game. If the hunter's hitting the wave for 60 in auto, an extra 6 reduction per auto. Not that big. This is not the big change. This late game is really good. The problem with Jing Chen is that when you had leveled the max the 1, after that maxing the 1, leveling the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of felt useless because it just didn't add more damage. The 2 did increase in root duration, but cooldown reduction is nice. Wouldn't be getting this late game down to 8 seconds or something. That's probably a point where if you engage first, you can use it twice. And knockups are always valuable. The root's not too. Needs probably a little bit more changes for him to be really good, but this is definitely a buff in the right direction. And this change is really cool. Probably more for solo that you can jump on cooldown, but at the same time, if you get a jump on 2 people in dual lane, 4-second cooldown reduction, kind of insane. That means you can jump every wave, heal up, and and then jump again. So now I'm expecting a bit more Surd picks now as well, especially into gods like Umoja, into gods like Healer Gods Hell. Hell Umoja, his two biggest matchups. Zhong, weird changes. I don't know what they're giving him some. Kelly change means nothing. Horus buff. This is actually a really big Horus buff early. Sorry, late game. Late game, an extra, like, what, it's extra 200 healing or something, 200 health. And then this is an extra 200 heal when you get your max passive. That's really fucking good. They're basically making him back to a Guardian in terms of his support capability. Good for every role, good for both solo and support. Definitely be playing more Horus. Still, I would recommend banning Ares into Horus, though, playable matchup. Hercules, negligible change. Who cares about this? Nem, negligible change. Good for the 1v1, I guess. I don't know. Problem. And a Chiron, not really a big change again, just making his mana cost. As now that trans not as popular before and people aren't really building. You have less mana than before. Yeah, not a bad patch. So Serb, Jing, Horus, Hades on her, the gods that and then Athena got touched. I'm definitely trying out Canon's Cuirass and definitely Blackthorn in the next patch. But yeah, and Horrific too as well with Eruption. So no, a little bit of interesting change. Probably a support patch more than any other role. But at the same time, it was kind of an okay patch, a pretty good patch. Wasn't the biggest one in the world, for bearing in mind there's not any massive changes coming. But you know what, a decent patch nevertheless. Anyway, that was done. I'm not editing this.